Deep down, I always knew something would go wrong with the so-called Great Plan. Fiddling with taxes. Stupid plan. Our dear Magister Mysteri was a fool. Our master cares not for who makes up a city council, even in a city like Middenheim. They call for change. True change. The ending of empires, the very forces of this world we live in being twisted and bent to something greater. I'm so glad I've been chosen for this opportunity. We must be blessed, after all. We've had the great enemy fall into our hands, the so-called Castelliberon. I always knew this fellow was an impostor. I actually met the bloody real Castelliberon, after all. So I wasn't surprised when we finally were all informed of this detail, but I don't care. They are still an enemy, and they will make a perfect sacrifice, as will the others we've gathered. The demons we shall summon will burn this district to the ground. The watch won't be able to react quick enough. This will give us an opening the rest of us can use to break out of this lockdown and escape the city. For now, at least, the hand shall not be insulted in such a way. We shall return, and the city shall know to fear our name. Wait, what was that? Discovery? No, impossible. They could not have found us here. How? Unless... Did the traitor Magister know? But we weren't his cell. How could he? No! 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 This is Red Moon role-playing. Kruger Hoffman. There you were, feeling very, very unhappy. You're not sure how much time has passed. You're hungry and you're tired. But suddenly, there's a commotion. There's shouting. Gunshots are going off. Black powder is being fired. You can see some flashes in the distance. You notice the people nearest to you start to swear, and that woman... No! No! No time! We have to do it now! Begin now! And she quickly moves to the center of this circle. 5 other people panic a little, but move with her. You see several people in the dark beginning to move into what looks like... It looks like there are 2 large tunnels that lead into this room you're in, this basement. What do? Something's happening.
Does this seem like an opportunity for me to get my lockpick out and, well, try to get out of this?
Certainly.
Well then, if I can, I will attempt to do just that. This was exactly what I was hoping for.
Excellent. Please make a pick-lock roll.
That is no good, so I'm going to use a point of fortune and re-roll that. Sadly, that too is a failure. 66 over 54.
You begin struggling with the lock of this cage, but you just can't quite get a grip on it. You begin trying to kick it with your legs, but you haven't got room to kick. This is taking longer than you'd like. You might be able to get out in a minute, but it's taking longer than you like. How you feeling?
Frustrated. But at the same time, hopeful. There's someone here. They're gonna find us. We're gonna be alright, everybody.
No one shares your enthusiasm. Someone cries in the darkness, and then there are an awful lot of sounds of pain and screaming on the air. Heinrich, you're at the forefront, leading the way forwards. You can hear the sounds of combat around you. Some figures are coming out of the darkness and attacking people. Again, now a lot of the soldiers have moved forwards. There's a lot of space here. But a lot of these people are going down. How are you feeling?
Every single cultist whose blood we spill is a victory for the city, for Sigmar, and for myself. My favorite thing about being in combat is that the adrenaline means you don't have to worry about it. Doesn't matter if it's heights, doesn't matter if it smells anymore. Once you're in your element, it is just blade and bullet. Oh, it's good to be home.
You're also finally starting to see something up ahead. You think this is leading to a chamber, and even though it's badly lit, there is at least finally some lights. Sort of very low lit red torches, but not many of them. You're coming up to something. This must be it. This must be their little lair. What are you thinking of the numbers? There's a lot of people here. A lot of people.
It's all for nothing if whoever's in there gets away, and if the watch is the watch, they can handle themselves. I didn't come here to stamp out the low-level cultists. I'm here to cut the head off this beast. So if there's a path forward, dangerous or not, I'm going to take it.
Then forward you go, for the moment, believing in your allies that they can handle their little skirmishes. But there is a way forwards, the forefront, and you can make it. Gurner Stark. A lot is happening very quickly. You think how lucky you were to hear those clicks. If you'd moved just a few seconds slower, and maybe not made such a scene, well, they may have got the drop on you. But instead, you've got the drop on them. The initial bunch seem to have fallen. You can see at least 6 or 7 bodies just on the ground, but there's more people up ahead. The soldiers are moving forwards as they're trained to do and beginning to kill pretty much anyone who gets in their way. But what are you doing? You see Heinrich surging ahead on his own, to a point. Do you follow him? Do you try to cast a spell? Do you just try and stay out of the way?
As the smells change a bit in the place, having been mostly moss and dank underground, now it's the smell of coppery metal and blood, and there are bodies suddenly everywhere. I just dodge to the side at first, and then as Heinrich shoots and balls into the place, I feel I can't lose him. I gotta stick with the group. So I start running down after him, and I'm trying to, see if in an opponent these soldiers are working so quickly. There's not space or time for me to cast any spells. I suppose I should just focus and trying to sense any sort of magic that might be going on down here, and there's something I need to personally see to stopping from happening.
Indeed. Could you make a perception check, please? Give yourself a +10, as you are specifically trying to feel magic in the air.
That wasn't a too good roll, so I'm going to use a point of fortune. It's 1 negative success.
You try and focus. Can you feel anything magical in the air? I mean, obviously you can. There's still all that wind around you. And you think you hear some chanting. Somebody casting a spell. You try and locate it, though, but you're distracted suddenly by being shoved to the side by one of the guardsmen on your side. They don't mean it deliberately, but it just distracts you, and you find yourself being pushed back a little. After all, there's only so much space to go forward. You think you heard something, but you don't know where. You'll have to focus again.
I realize that this is just what they wanted me to do, not be in the way for them. I stand to the side, and I start channeling Ulgo to be able to cast Wandering Shadow, in order to send my shadow in ahead to see if I can see something.
Indeed, and you begin channeling your spell. Siegfrieda, what have you been doing? Have you been charging to the front with your crossbow, or are you maybe hanging back a little? There are, of course, at this point, some injured on your side, being quickly taken back to the back lines to be treated by that medical team.
Yeah, I don't really have the bloodlust necessary to charge into battle, nor do I have the combat skills required to actually keep me alive. But if there are injured people, then I can do my best to treat them. I always have my medicine kit and scalpels and blades to hand, kept somewhere safe and sterile, I will hasten to add, in an environment like this. So, what kinds of injuries are we looking at here?
Well, Siegfrieda, you're about to start trying to assess the wounds as you head back a little, when you notice Erica growl at the wall. And you suddenly realise that you've just stepped by, a lot of people have stepped by a sort of alcove. It's not quite a solid wall, there's a little bit of an area here. In the darkness you can see some cages. And then you see a figure quickly going to some sort of lever in the wall and pulling it down. One of the riflemen right next to you spots this person, says halt, and shoots them. But not before they pull the lever down. Figures begin emerging from the cages, shambling forwards, as the light of your torches meets the darkness, you see them. You've encountered this before, Siegfrieda. Vacant eyes, rotten skin, shambling corpses. Moving on you very quickly. What do you do?
Go, Erica, attack, take out their legs.
Erica barks and goes forward. Would you like to make a weapon skill roll for Erica? I believe she should have 60.
I do have her stats. Okay, we're on a 55.
One of these beings, you think maybe they were once a woman, suddenly lunges forward towards you, trying to grab you, trying to bite you. But Erica darts forward. You notice for a moment that Erica does not do what she normally does. She doesn't dive up to this creature's throat. Instead, she seems to take a second to think, and then barrel into their legs, causing the creature simply to fall down. As this creature falls literally before you, a guardsman right next to you comes forward and says, "My lady, back! Quick! Aim for their heads! Aim for their heads!" and drives their halberd straight through this being's head. As then suddenly you are surrounded by reinforcements, which begin cutting down these creatures. How do you feel, Siegfrieda? That was very, very close.
I feel calm, I feel cool, it's fine, there are injured people. There's no time to panic right now. If the guards are dealing with this, if Erica is dealing with this, then I need to get back to the task at hand. Where are the people with these injuries?
Then you are led back to the back lines, and there are several wounded individuals ready for your care. Feel free to make a heal roll. -10, this is not the best place for medicine.
No, most certainly not. What kind of injuries are we looking at here? Crossbow, bolts, arrows, burns? What's going on?
One man has a severe fracture. He seems to have fallen and maybe hurt his leg badly. One has a crossbow bolt in their shoulder. Someone has actually been shot. About 5 or 6 injured.
It's not my crossbow bolt, is it?
No.
Good. Okay, well, in that case, let's deal with the most severe injury first. We will go for this heal roll. Yeah, well, I am doing well with my rolls today, it seems. I get a 16 under 73.
That is a very good roll. Siegfrieda, tell us what happens. How do you tune out the sounds of chaotic battle and simply become a doctor?
So first thing to do, whip off the victim's belt or other leather strap, put it between their teeth, and then start going to work. The ideal process is to clean the wound. I mentioned sterilization earlier. We, of course, don't know all that much about that in this time or place, but what we do know is cleaning the wound with water will help us see it a little better. And so there's a bit of dousing of water on wherever the wound is, the injury, to see the depth of it, trying to gouge out any metal or wood that might be planted in there, and then poulticing it, bandaging it. If we can, if it's light enough, stitching it up, but mainly it's just to stop the bleeding at this early point, so that they don't just end up dead in a pool of their own viscera. And going from patient to patient doing the same thing. This is not a permanent place of rest for them, they just need to be stabilized.
Indeed. And so you get to work, and you begin saving lives. Gurner Stark, let us make your channeling rolls, please.
Alright.
As always, you have the time to make the channeling rolls here, but we're just paying attention to any critical successes or critical failures.
Yes, well, I immediately rolled a 3 under 50 for the channeling. So the channeling is the casting number for the spell, as it is in this case, is down to 0.
Wonderful. A successful channel. Feel free to cast your spell, and cast it with a +10 and a plus success level as well, because you are very much in your environment. The shadows of Ulgu everywhere.
Alright, that's still a dreadful roll, so I'm going to spend another fortune point today. Oh. Well, that's 7 success levels. I don't even know if I can... Oh, I can probably extend the duration of the spell, if anything.
You close your eyes and move forward in the darkness. But of course, it's not you moving forward, it's your shadow. Luckily, you don't alarm any of your allies because your shadow is almost unseeable in this darkness. You move forwards. You're in some sort of large chamber. You see well, from the shadow's point of view, lots of commotion in one tunnel and in a second tunnel. It seems the other team of soldiers are here as well. There's a great deal of people causing a bit of a melee, but they are starting to go down. More worryingly, though, are 5 individuals in a sort of circle, beginning to chant and cast spells in a very hurried fashion. You also see several people in cages. A lot of them are weeping. A lot of them seem to not really know where they are. Some of them reek of death. But one of them, you think you've met him before. Kruger Hoffman.
There he is. Alright, I'll note that down. And as I can experience both what the shadow is doing and where I myself am, as far as I know, I can still move while having the spell maintained.
Especially on that many success levels, you certainly can.
Well, then I'm going to start myself moving forwards as much as is safe. I want to try and get to his place, and if I see any of my companions that would be nearby, I suppose at this point that would be Heinrich, I'll let him know that I have located Kruger.
Then you run forwards yourself, quick to inform Heinrich that you've been located. Granted, it seems a little bit unnecessary because you, as you run forward, realise that Heinrich's already looking in that direction. Heinrich, you are at the front, the head of the battle. You now notice to your right a whole bunch of reinforcements pouring to this large chamber. It's a very odd-looking chamber, and yet you've seen something like this before. Books and strange glass beakers. It does remind you a little of the horrors you saw at Castle Wittgenstein. There are several cages in the corners of this room. Some of them seem to have figures and people in them. One of them, you think, is that Kruger? And it's confirmed as Gerner comes behind you and points in that direction. Yes, Kruger, over there in a cage. But there's also 5 individuals in a weird circle, beginning to chant, and both of you, Gerner and Heinrich, now see the air starting to fill with purplish smoke. There's a bit of an electrical feeling to the air. Kruger Hoffman, you see everything that your friends are seeing. You see dozens of men-at-arms, even some dwarves, you think, charging into this chamber. There is a great battle taking place, but you think most of the people in this end are losing. But then, yes, you're still in this cage, and those 5 at the corner, they're doing something, and it's starting to happen. You then see Heinrich and Gerner, also in this melee. They're quite close to you. What do?
I yell out, Heinrich, Gerner, they're over there, they're doing some kind of ritual, you have to stop them. And then I will, again, if I can, try to free myself. I want to try to help them somehow if I can. And I can only do that if I'm free.
Indeed. If you'd like, you could try picking that lock again. Give yourself a plus 20 this time.
That is 70 under 74.
It takes time. It's taken far too much time. You're quite frustrated with yourself. But finally, this rusty lock gives way and you kick open the door, getting out.
I look back at the cage and I just shake my head. And then I look ahead and I look towards my friends and I look towards these people. But I don't have any weapon. I'm unarmed. I'll look around. Are there any bodies or anything like that around me? Anyone I can take a weapon from?
There certainly is. Someone fell just by your cage. They were carrying a crossbow. You go and you pick it up. Heinrich. There he is. Kruger. He's alive. He's just got himself out of a cage just as you've arrived. He's picked up a weapon. What do?
We can be friends later. We got cultists to kill. Like, there'll be time to hug later. Kruger knows what to do. I can see him pick up a crossbow. We got this. I know better than to let people who are chanting finish chanting. And nothing stops chanting like a sword through the windpipe.
Indeed. Please make... Well, how are you attacking them, first of all?
I do not assume that I had time to reload while charging, because I think that's the kind of thing you have to spend a move action on.
Make a reload check anyway. Let's make a reload check.
Okay, yeah, by the skin of my teeth, but I do come 2 under my score.
Wonderful. Then you quickly look at your pistols. Luckily, pistols are, of all the black powder weapons, one of the easy ones to reload quickly. And so you quickly reload, pistols ready. What do?
Charging forward, and that part is important. I would like to use my body as a weapon against one of them. I don't know if the circle is important. That's probably something I should ask Gerner about. But I figure if they're sitting in a circle, it's got to be for a reason. So I'd like to shoulder through one, and then very cinematic, pistols pointing in each other side, shoot the people to his left and his right.
Indeed. Then make your attack roll.
That is a 58, so the first shot will hit and the second will miss.
Then you barrel forwards, which, to be fair, is quite effective, but it does occur to you that maybe that's why your second shot kind of misses. But one person goes down before you. You shoot them straight in the arm, down they go, falling and screaming in pain. As you charge forwards, the air continues to cackle. Gerner, you don't need to make a roll here. They're casting a spell. You've interrupted the spell, which is good, but the spell is about to happen regardless. What do, Gerner? You don't have much time to act here. You think Heinrich has helped, but you might need to do something yourself.
Is there anything I can do to counterspell when it comes to a... This must be a ritual. They must have been on for a while.
You certainly can try and counterspell it. It's going to be tricky, as there are a few individuals casting the spell, but Heinrich has made it one bit easier by taking down at least 1 of 5. So, would you like to make an opposed roll here? Let's see how you do.
Right, and I'm going to use my last fortune point this session. And that is 30 under 60.
Gerner, you reach out to the winds, trying your best to grapple with them. But you've never experienced something like this. This is not, as you said, it's not a spell. It's some sort of ritual. Instead of the winds feeling quite easy to dissipate, it feels more like you're struggling underwater or trying to climb something. You have to wrest the wind to your will, and as you throw them back, there's this loud bang in the air as 3 of these individuals who are standing before you suddenly just fly back, falling over, crashing into the walls, screaming. One of them smacks his head hard. Heinrich, you feel this surge of energy, but luckily for you, you were already kind of on the ground over a cultist. You're able to brace yourself, but something just happened. It's all very exciting. Although, sadly, there's still one left standing. Kruger, you see this happen. You see your friend barrel down one individual. You see this Gerner suddenly do something. You're not sure what he does, but it sends 3 of them flying back. But you do see that woman just giving you the eye as she smiles and says, "Too late!" She raises her hands, and then nothing happens. Nothing happens for a few seconds, and you see her look at you, Kruger, and then just start screaming. No! No! Heinrich, you look over. You're right next to this last surviving individual. They suddenly start floating in the air, and as they do, you hear this cracking sound as their limbs slowly bend backwards, their arms, their leg just contorting, and then they just suddenly explode in a shower of blood.
That sounds very messy.
It is. You're splattered in blood. And then you see this strange humanoid being begin to crawl out of the viscera that has been left over. They seem humanoid at first, but they're not. Not remotely. They have arms and legs, but where the body and head would be, it's just the same thing. Like a grotesque body with a face in it. And the face is contorted into a grin. It begins laughing. Just laughing. This strange being that then turns onto you. What do, Heinrich?
During the transformation process, I'm scrambling back on my hands until I get a distance that feels safe, even if it's not. Then back to my feet, using the back of my hand, wiping the viscera out of my eyes. Other hand drawing the sword out. Is there any chance that Lore Undead would tell me what this is?
Sadly not, because you've never seen anything like this before, but deep down, you know it's not undead. You know, in fact, it's something else. Demon. Demon of chaos. It has to be. I'd like everybody, except Siegfrieda, to roll a willpower roll, please.
Success, 33 under 40.
Well done. Kruger?
That is a 38 over 31. Failure.
And Gurner?
Yeah, even if I use cool, it's 82 over 30.
What happens next is all a bit of a blur for some of you. There's a strange sound on the air. Some other bodies in the area explode as well, although thankfully not too many. Not too many. Gurner Stark, you feel like you did something. You definitely did something, but these creatures, you cannot deal with them. You've never dealt with a demon. You do not want to deal with a demon. You need to get away. You need to get away. How do you do this?
I... standing there and just first seeing the sheer brutality of her just coming apart and then something coming out. I don't want that to be me. I know it doesn't make sense why that would be me. But I start taking steps backwards. I have to make sure Siegfrieda is all right, I say, and I start turning around and just run away.
And run you do. But luckily for you, it's to a place of safety. Several guards are coming forwards. You even see one of those dwarves with their axe, and they simply charge with these beings and smash it to pieces with their hammer. But then, well, Kruger Hoffman, you see this happen. You see one of these creatures suddenly was coming towards you, but then this armored dwarf just comes forth and smashes the beast in two. The two pieces begin to form. New arms and new legs. The creature's colour changes from this sickly pink to blue. New mouths form. But they're no longer laughing. They're weeping. Weeping as they come towards you. What do you do, Kruger Hoffman? You need to get away. You need to get away.
I do. I think in panic I just fire the crossbow and then I turn my back and just run.
And run you do. Do you try running to where you think all your friends and reinforcements are, or do you try running to... You do notice there's a stairway here. A small stone stairway that does actually go up to some sort of hatch.
I don't know how logical I can be at this particular moment, nor am I particularly sure about where my friends truly were. I mean, I was in a cage, so whatever seems to be able to get me to safety the fastest. So if that is the hatch up, then that's the one I'll go for.
And run you do. Heinrich Schilf. Time slows. You see two of your friends or associates just running for their lives as they witness these horrors. But you look down. You've reloaded your guns. You didn't even notice. You just have reloaded your guns. They're standing in your hands ready. And you do see several other guards and a dwarf fighting these creatures. This purple one turns to face you. You're not going to run away, Heinrich Schilf. What do you do?
Quite the contrary. I am going to run at it, pistol in one hand and rapier at the other. I have been placed on this earth to cleave things like this out of existence, and I'll be damned if the first time I see one, I'm not going to do that.
Let's make a weapon skill roll then. Give yourself a plus 20.
So, 45 under 78 with that bonus.
Time passes in a blur, Heinrich. You swing your weapon, you shoot your guns, and they go down. They go down, even though At one point, the being in front of you splits into two, and again it changes from laughter to this hideous wailing. How do you keep it together? This is a horrifying sight, but the creatures are going down, not without resistance. You see one person ripped to pieces right next to you. But there's more of you than there are of these things. Tell us how this ends, for Heinrich Schilf at least.
So you see that there, you've already clued into it, because it isn't about me, and it isn't even about the demons. It is seeing what these creatures do when they are into our world, that even trained warriors who could march off to war against any other kind of enemy are felled by these creatures. That is how dangerous they are, and that is why people like me need to be the steel in the Emperor's hand that sends them back to whatever hells they come from. As a duelist, you earn glory in single combat. As a witch hunter, you keep people alive with single combat. So cleaving through this first one as the melee continues, from the camera above, you see Heinrich picking out targets, not based on what's closest to him or what looks most threatening, but watching one of his dwarf allies perhaps about to get flanked and then leaping in to defeat that enemy before it can get a claw or a tendril or a spore, however this works, in between one of the armor plates. I will save as many of these people as possible by becoming a violent whirlwind against the forces of chaos.
And despite everything, you are successful, Heinrich Schilf. And so the battle comes to an end. Eventually. It's all a bit of a blur. Gurner Stark, you come to your senses. It's over. It's over. There's a couple of prisoners, very few, but mostly just a lot of dead people. You're all the way at the back, though. You see Siegfrieda and Erika. You turn. You feel a bit sick. And yet, you're alive. And it does occur to you that whatever was happening, you think you made it less bad. You maybe didn't stop it, but you definitely disrupted it. Surely that was a good thing, you think to yourself. It must have been.
What if they all otherwise would have turned into those things? What if I try and stay with the thought, but it's really hard to just be anything but present. I'll try and... Is there anything else I can do? I look around and see if there's anyone I can help or anyone that's been injured.
Everyone seems to be gathering in this main chamber, but there are people you can help. Siegfrieda, would you like a helping hand? 10 more injured, and maybe, you think, 5 dead.
Does it appear Gurnar has it together now? Because when he came running this way, he looked utterly panic-stricken.
Well, you quickly assessing me is that I'm still quite upset. I could handle some simple tasks, maybe carrying someone or moving something around.
Gurnar, I snap my fingers in front of your face. Gurnar?
Yes,
Look at me,
yes.
Look at me. I'm going to hit you now. I slap him.
Ah!
Now you're going to drink this. I put a bottle in his hand. All of it?
Yes. Right. And I start drinking without questioning anything.
It tastes rancid. It's basically medicinal alcohol. You don't have to drink the whole thing. That will clear your head. Get you focused on what exactly is going on. I need to move the injured people further back in case there's another wave of these people. Do you think you can help me with that?
Of course.
Thank you. You're much bigger than I am. You might be able to lift one person. I would struggle. So come on, let's get the sick and injured out of here, or at least further back.
And under her instruction, I'll follow and do exactly what she's saying, trying not to think of what just happened in there.
Kruger Hoffman, you're not sure how you got where you are. You're hiding behind a crate. You think you came up through a hatch, that there was a carpet above it, but you just tossed that aside, and you're in a sort of warehouse basement, you think to yourself. You notice there are some people in front of you, some people dressed in blue, guards, and one of them's sort of patting you on the shoulder, saying, You all right?
I am now. I am now. They look like real guards. They're not cultists in disguise, or someone who's going to capture me again.
You hope not. You hope not.
I breathe out a sigh of relief. I survived this somehow. Yet again. It was thanks to my friends. They came for me. They did. And where am I now? Where are they? Sorry, my friends. Siegfrieda, Heinrich, Gerner, do you know where they are?
Downstairs, but let's come with us. I think, and you hear someone calling out like, "Well, I actually think there's a way up to the surface from here." Oh, thank Ulrich, that's a good one. Come with us. Come with us. We'll get you patched up.
And I'll do as they say. I'm quite traumatized by what has happened, both what I saw, but also the whole being knocked on the head and put in a cage, and, well, Sigmar knows what else happened to me while I was out. I don't want to think about that, so I'll just follow them and let myself be patched up.
Heinrich Schilf, you're covered in blood. You think you finally actually ran out of ammunition. And yet all around you are your enemies. Dead. Yes, you think a few good guards have fallen as well, but far less of them than your enemy. You look down and see that where a minute ago there was some sort of horror, there's nothing but black ash. Not a single trace of those things you saw. Someone pats you on the shoulder hard. Helga. She gives you a good punch and nods. Well handled, human. Good work. Such horrors are tricky. The trick is to make sure you're ready when they split. You handled yourself well. Good work.
So, thank you. Hopefully, not too many of yours were lost in the fray.
None of mine, of course. Well, a couple of good men and women, I think. Such as the way of dealing with these things in the dark. But overall, a good mission. We did well.
And the woman, the leader, I'm looking around, trying to spot her body.
What you thought was her body is now pretty much just a messy pile of red flesh and a couple of bones. However, you do see in the dark very few bodies being shackled. It does seem as if some people have finally surrendered.
Oh, so long as we cut the head off the snake. We made a promise to the guard that we would decapitate this cult and drive them out. It seems to be we've accomplished that goal. What comes next? Looking at the dwarf commander.
Jean nods grimly and begins to motion for you to follow. You start hearing a bit of a rumour that people think that this is actually maybe just a big basement, and that you actually might be underneath another basement. And if that's the case, you might actually be very close to the surface, meaning you won't have to go back the way you came.
Oh, praise Sigmar for small miracles.
Siegfrieda, as everyone's cleaning up and bodies are being carted, and it seems, thankfully, that you are actually getting a very, very quick exit, you finally see this room for yourself, full of books on shelves and strange alchemical equipment and cages. Some people are opening some of the cages. Some of the people still seem to be alive, but you notice in one of the corners, another cage, some people are just immediately setting it on fire as the corpse within writhes but doesn't scream.
If fires are being started in here, I think to myself, we can't just let all of these things burn. We've encountered some of the rather forbidden knowledge in these books before. Obviously, they should only be passed before learned eyes, but I don't want this entire room going up in flame and potentially centuries of knowledge being burned with it. I'm going to do a quick scan of the shelves. I don't expect to see anything professionally printed with book titles and author names on spines or anything like that. But anything that's marked with symbols, that maybe occupies a place of prominence, the kind of thing that someone may have revered or treasured as a collectible item. perhaps, or a unique item, even, is what I'm looking for here.
You pick one at random, and it does look very interesting indeed. The cover of the book is strangely textured, and you open it. Once again, you don't really understand what it says, but at the same time you do. You've read a book like this before, and this time you swear some of these strange runes look familiar to you.
I'm not going to carry on reading it here, but that actually satisfies me somewhat. I give a rather stern but happy nod with it and slip that book under my cloak. I will be keeping that. Otherwise, is Kruger around anywhere?
Yes.
In that case, run up to him and give him a big hug.
Yes, you are led upstairs, and it does seem as if you are indeed just below a normal-ish seeming basement, maybe of a warehouse of some kind, but that's where Kruger is, and it does seem as if that's where several of the guards are now making their way to. Kruger, Siegfried is suddenly here, hugging you.
I knew we'd find you. You didn't get far.
I'm a bit surprised at the hug, but happy.
Well, when I back off.
No, and I'll reach out to the hug. No, I'm happy to see you too. I thought I was done for.
How did you escape?
They were gonna sacrifice me to some demons or something like that. I had my lockpick in my boot. That was the way I got free, but I wouldn't have been able to do it if not for the fact that you came. You found me. And then you picked your time just right.
Well, I mean, that was, I suppose if you fancy it, you can thank the gods for that. I should just be grateful that even these cultists weren't insane enough to try removing your boots.
And I laugh at that. Yeah, I'm really happy to see you, Siegfried. Did we get them all? Did we stop them?
Oh, who knows? These maniacs crop up like lice. You think you've got rid of all of them, and then a new patch appears. But a number of good people have lost their lives in the fight, sad as it is to admit it. Did you learn anything of them? What they were doing here? Was it the old Castelliberung nonsense again?
Feel free to roll an intuition roll. Give yourself a +10.
Oh, that's 100, so let's use a full point of fortune there. No. 89 over 68. No good.
It's all a bit much for you. You don't know. Was this a new plan? Was this an old plan? She said something about being a new leader and you'd taken out all the leaders, but you just want to go somewhere and sleep.
It seemed like all the leaders were dead. It was just her left. And she was gonna do this thing by herself, and it seems like she didn't really know what she was doing. I think she inadvertently ended up summoning these things so that they killed her. I don't know. She mentioned Castelliberung though, that much I remember, but it seemed like they'd figured it out, that I wasn't him, which is, well, that's kind of nice. Finally. I just hope this whole thing is over for me now and I can just go back to being boring old Kruger Hoffman. He certainly had fewer people looking for him.
No, there's nothing so boring about you, Kruger. Well, hopefully then they've wiped themselves out with a little bit of help from us.
Let's hope that's what's happened. Well, I think we've deserved some rest now.
As time passes, you find yourselves on the surface, much quicker than you were expecting. It seems that this basement you were in led to another basement, and then one more level, and suddenly you were actually back in the city, in some sort of abandoned warehouse. You very quickly find out that you are somewhere in the Wind district, which is one of the districts just at the bottom of the city, very close to the Gelmund and even the Ostwald district. Maybe that explains how Kruger's journey here wasn't actually that long. The warehouse is abandoned, but it seems maybe that's how they got in a slightly safer route, but they weren't using that map of theirs. Siegfrieda, you notice what happens next, of course, below. No one saw you take a book in the darkness, but they seem quite happy to start gathering things up and setting things on fire. And all those other books, all those beakers, some of those corpses are all consigned to flame. Overall, though, not too bad. You think due to your own actions, Siegfrieda, you managed to save from fatal injury at least 6 or 7 people. It seems roughly about 10 casualties all in all, which really isn't that bad. You do hear something, Heinrich, that seems a little inconsequential. Apparently, 6 people are missing. The second group had a cave-in, cut off some of the people at the back, but people are heading down there now to try and do a bit of a rescue attempt. Still, all 4 of you are now back in the night air, back on the streets. How are you feeling?
Well, I will not do Kruger the disservice of a hug, covered in filth as I am, but I will graciously doff my cap, inadvertently slinging goo onto the floor. Herr Hoffman, a pleasure as always.
Pleasure to see you too, Herr Schilf. Yes, you came for me. Thank you. Just say that. Thank you.
Well, of course. You didn't think we'd leave you there? I did notice you saved your lockpicking for a very dramatic moment. That's a duelist's flair in that.
I was a bit nervous. They were going to sacrifice me to some demons. It seemed like a horrible way to go.
Well, we weren't going to let that happen. Is everything going to be all right?
With some time, I think so. I'm uninjured. I say, just got a little bit of a headache. I'll be fine. We're together now again, and we'll get things in order here in Middenheim.
Indeed we shall. Time we will give you, and also a drink. That seems in order.
I could go for that, I'll say, looking at the others.
Gunnar Stark, what do you make of all this? These heroes of Middenheim, together again. The one, the witch hunter, he seems almost completely unflapped by those things that you confess made you step back a little. But you're here, alive, and whatever magic was being done down there is not happening anymore. You did notice, of course, those shelves full of books and all those strange little beakers and things in cages, but again, you also noticed lots of people setting those things on fire quite quickly.
To the very last bit of us being down there, I was just working methodically, trying to help out, trying to do what Siegfrieda had set me to do, so as the others gather and start talking, I'll be making my way out of there as well, but a little bit after everyone else, seeing as how I was helping people who were injured to just move. And as I come up to them, I look them over, and it's nice to see that they're all friends and enjoying themselves, and I see Heinrich completely covered in gore. I keep a little step away, but I do come in at the last bit saying, yes, I think I could use a drink as well. Maybe a little tavern brawl.
That sounds like fun, Gunnar. We should do that.
Well, that's 3 votes in favor. Siegfrieda, what say you? You don't have to rush back to the clinic quite yet, do you?
Actually, I do. All of this excitement, I'm supposed to be having dinner at the, with Dr. Parvot and organising something to do with business. Now that I've got the gold crown, I'll find a way of splitting it, obviously. No, it was 1 gold crown each, wasn't it? So it's fine. No, I think I'm going to have to defer on drinks complex. Lots of work to be done. Lots of debts to be paid. But I think we did a good thing. And I know Erica, well, I'm not sure she enjoyed herself, but she likes a nice stretch of the legs, even if it's underground.
And so, a rather eventful night gives way to day. And then night and day again. A few days pass. Once more, the square of marshals is filled with hanging corpses. There were, of course, some survivors after all, and after interrogation, finally they are ready for their public execution. But most of the corpses were simply burned at the site, which itself was completely burnt out. Nothing remaining except, of course, one little book that Siegfrieda has. Still, mission complete. All four of you find yourself summoned just a little after the hangings, once again to the commander's office in the state barracks, just next to the square of marshals in the Grafplatz. The commander, Ulrich, looks you all over. Bags of coin are handed out. Well, things worked out for the best in the end. Good to see you're back with us, Kruger, although maybe this is a lesson to you next time. I think your days of scouting by yourself are over. At least I hope you see it that way.
There's strength in numbers, for sure. We have to stick together in order to be able to take on our enemies. Yes, I've learned that lesson, and I've learned it well.
Good.
I'm just happy that everyone was able to get there on time. It was a close call.
Indeed, the mission was a complete success, although don't think I haven't heard from word on the ground, and he looks to you, Heinrich. You carried yourself excellently, apparently. Truly a hero of Middenheim, and yourself, my lady, at least 3 individuals. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be here if not for your medical aid. Fascinating. Well done. You have my thanks.
We were only too happy to serve.
Indeed. A good, acceptable low casualty count. 10 good men, their names will be honoured. And sadly, the 6 from that cave-in. Most annoying, our rescue operation didn't find a trace of them. But, well, that's the Undercity for you.
Me, I stand there. I lean on my staff. I don't expect him to mention me much, but in this case I feel quite pleased in the end, because I think I understood what I was doing. I was just shoving shadows and Ulgo into that knot of colors and of dark magic that they were forming. Chaos magic. And it worked, I think. I think most of it was dispelled because of me.
It must have been. 3 of those people were thrown back by it, but you stood your ground. Maybe the things that came after were a bit much for you, but no, you think you did disrupt the ritual.
And I clench my staff and I loosen up a bit, and I feel pretty pleased with myself there, standing a little to the side.
Well, from this point, we'll be taking it from here. Of course, Kruger, you'll be back to work soon, but well, once again, my lady and Herr Schilf, thank you for your assistance. But hopefully, he says, looking out to the window, which looks over the square of marshals and those hanging corpses. We've got pretty good information that this is it. We've got an awful lot of them down there, and well, we think we got them. At least here in Middenheim.
I'm sure there's more of them out there.
Well, that's not our concern, but maybe it'll be your concern one day, sir. But for now, I'm afraid you've still got an awful lot of work to do in Middenheim. Speaking of which, there's some people who want to see you before you go. That references you, Heinrich. You'll be made aware that your carriage is ready to leave today. You'll be leaving Middenheim shortly after this meeting.
We'll have to make a quick work of attempting to change. But so be it.
The watch commander gestures to a side room, and all 4 of you enter it. And there, 3 of you recognize one of the people, Lady Emmanuel Nacht, dressed in fine clothing. as she normally is, no battle armor today. But there is a woman next to her who none of you recognize, and sort of much older woman. Her hair is grey and tightly pulled back, and she's wearing very dark clothing with quite intricate designs on it. Lady Emmanuel Nat steps forward. Well, well, well. What excellent work, as always. Although I have to confess, I wasn't expecting to see you again so soon, Herr Schilf and Lady Wittgenstein. Still, well done. Seems to me that we're finally coming to the end of this little tale, at least as far as Middenheim is concerned. Feeling good?
Well, every victory against the forces of chaos is a reason to celebrate, isn't it?
That it is. And again, you've done it. Everything is coming together. We're pretty damn sure that not only did we have our dear Magister Mysteri, but that you have successfully dissembled all 3 leaders of the other main bodies or cells, as it were. And you've killed an awful lot of cultists. There might be 1 or 2 left, but I think you've done it. Middenheim is finally free of this menace. Well done. You must be feeling pretty proud of yourself, Kruger, despite getting captured. A little clumsy on your end, but at least you're, well, all still with us.
I just hope that this will be the end of them trying to capture me, trying to get a hold of Castor Lieberung and all that. I just hope this is it.
I'd think so. You've given them quite a bloody nose. Again, despite everything, they're not stupid. They're not going to come for you in Middenheim, and, well... And are you, Kruger, planning on heading anywhere else?
I have my work cut out for me here, I'm sure. But we'll see what the future holds, I suppose.
Indeed, indeed. Anyway, I'm here to say goodbye. I have a feeling we're not going to be seeing each other again for some time. I have to get back to... Well... At this point, the older woman comes forward. Yes, my dears. Darling Emmanuel does need to be heading back to, well, Oopstrike, don't you, my dear? You did have things you were supposed to be doing there. This woman turns to the older woman and bows her head. Yes, Frau Zutermine, I understand, but, well, this all paid off. Indeed. Sorry, where are my manners? Jana Zutermine. I am the head of the, well, the Spionweber, if you're familiar with that. You probably aren't.
Can't say that I am. Who are you?
It's the recruitment wing of the Black Chamber, darlings. I'm Lady Emmanuel Nack's superior. Indirectly, of course.
Well, it's an honor to meet you.
We can only hope you're as delightful as the lady.
Oh, darling, please, please, I am but a humble old woman, just doing my job for the Empire. But you 3 have done extremely well. Extremely well. Single-handedly managed to give this Purple Hand the bloodiest nose they've had, I think, in decades, maybe even hundreds of years. You should feel proud of this.
Oh, we do. We do. Even if it's just to get them off our back.
Certainly. I don't think you'll be having any more problems with them in Middenheim. And, well... Yes, unfortunately, it has affected things elsewhere, but that's not your fault. We were trying to look into them in Altdorf, but I have a feeling, due to all this, they're going to hide under the rocks again for another 50, 60 years. But you know what? I see that as a win myself.
As long as they don't bother anyone else, I suppose it's all good then.
Indeed, indeed. And I have been following your career with great interest, Kruger. Great interest. I have to say, you could be good potential for the chamber, but... We'd like to see a little more of you, if that's all right. I hear you're doing good things in Middenheim. Keep doing them, and maybe we'll meet again.
Well, I'd be honored to be considered. But yes, let me finish things here and prove that I would be capable of something as big as that.
Certainly. And you, Grey Guardian, thank you for your assistance. We of the Black Chamber are always happy to work with the Grey Order. We're glad to see that the Wizards of Middenheim are giving their best forward.
Suddenly realizing that I'm standing in front of someone who's the, what's she say, recruitment driver for the Black Chamber?
She did. The Spionweber, that is the... Yes, you're aware of that, because that is the organization in the Black Chamber that handles the recruitment process.
I give a bow, a formal bow, and I say, it is my pleasure to start doing the best that I can for the Empire.
Certainly. We'll have to have a word with Emmanuel Ferdinand about you. Emmanuel Ferdinand, you know him. He's the leader of the Grey Wizards. Or the Patriarch, current Patriarch at least.
I would be very pleased, I say, not able to completely hide in my enthusiasm.
Indeed, of course he is always a very busy man, very busy, being the Imperial Spy Master and all. One of them. there's a few of us. Us and Lipmund. But yes, no. I'll all be hearing about you, young man. Keep up the good work. Again, thank you for humouring Lady Nact. She was slightly naughty, you know. Coming here unannounced. None of this was planned. Yes, of course, but as you can see, Lady Zuntermeyer, it did all pay off. I told you. It did. We can't be too angry at her, can we?
Oh, we would never be angry at such benevolent sponsors.
Well, I wanted to meet you all personally to come and collect Lady Nact. I'll let you say goodbye, Lady Nact, but come. We're off to Altdorf, and then you do need to get back to Ebersreich.
Oh, you're heading to Altdorf?
Well, yes. There's lots of work to do, my dear. You've done a great service for the Empire, but I'm sure I don't need to tell any of you that, well, awful lot going on at the moment. Awful lot.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I do hope you enjoy Altdorf, Lady Nact. Your acquaintance has been most beneficial to us.
And with that, the older woman turns and leaves. Lady Nact comes over and lowers her voice a little. Yes, well, as I did say, this whole operation was... Remember, if you turned out to actually be Castelliberung, well, even I might be in serious trouble.
Well, you're lucky that I'm not.
I am. Oh, and she leans over and whispers to you, Siegfried, something quickly. In regards to your new life, again, I recommend if you get any letters telling you to come back and sort things out, I'd just let them slide. Let Lady Wittgenstein retire honourably here. Let her barony go to, well, other people. You'll find it easier that way.
Oh, believe me, I have no desire to return. I already have someone in mind to take over the administration who I can appoint as an heir.
She looks at you with a slightly confused expression and just nods. Good luck with that. Feel free to write your letters. Anyway, honestly, thank you, all of you, and... Yes, what was your name? Gurna Stark? Pleasure, Lady Emmanuel Nact.
A pleasure to meet you, Lady Emmanuel Nact.
Yes, again, we're always on the lookout for good members of your order. Glad to see you're keeping up to things. You'll have to say hello to your, oh goodness me, I've forgotten his name. What's your I'm assuming he must be your superior in the city?
You must mean Schultz.
Yes!
Yes, of course.
Schultz. Did some good work in the past. I confess I would have liked his help in all this, but I haven't seen him for some time.
Not many people have, but if I do, I shall be sure to send your regards.
Well, thank you once again. Hopefully you're all going to have a nice time, and, well, Heinrich, good luck. Glad you're going to be doing what you want. I can't say I envy you.
Oh, I hope luck isn't needed, but I'll do my best along the way.
And with that, is there anything anyone would like to say in closing to Lady Emmanuel Nact before she leaves? It seems, maybe, you won't be seeing her again for some time.
Well, best of luck, Lady Nact. I hope, I look forward to our paths crossing again in the future.
And with that, she gives you all a bow and departs. And finally, you four are alone. You look at the clock, Heinrich. You'll be heading off soon. You didn't get to know Gurna that well, but, well, you've been travelling with Kruger and Siegfried for some time. It seems finally your paths are going to part, at least for a time. You are, of course, coming back to Middenheim, but for now your road lies south, back to the direction of Altdorf and the chapter house of the Fiery Heart.
Oh, well, Kruger, I presume, having eliminated this last cult, you won't be needing me to rescue from any more kidnappings anytime soon?
Don't say that. I'll probably need you again tomorrow, with the luck I've been having recently. No, but I suppose this is where our paths will diverge. For a time, at least. I'll take care of things here in Middenheim. You have things to do, I'm sure. Something tells me that this isn't the end. There's more adventures for us heroes of Middenheim left to do, right? And I'll look to Siegfrieda and to Gerner as well.
Oh, I think that this would be a very disappointing way for us to part ways forever. I'm really not sure what I would. Why would I ever leave my clinic if it wasn't for you and Gerner, of course, a new friend. How wonderful.
Yes, I mean, you certainly seem to have a nice friendship going. It's it was very good working with all of you. You are both capable and humble. It's refreshing.
We're not that humble.
I'll laugh at that.
Well then, Heinrich. Time to say goodbye. You believe your carriage should be waiting for you at the inn, ready to take you to your new life.
I will give Heinrich a stiff hug and a kiss on the cheek, as only a brother like Heinrich can have.
Oh, Siegfrieda, do you promise me you won't get into any more trouble while I'm gone?
I would, but I wouldn't like to break a promise to you. And for the same reason, I'm not going to swear you to the same thing. Just try to come back in one piece, and if you're not in one piece, bring back whatever's broken off so I can reattach it.
Oh, I can't imagine it'll be that dangerous. Not much of a school if it kills all of its students.
Yes, but you've got a road from here to there, and you and all of us have a habit of running into people who seem to want to do us harm, so, just be careful.
I, as always, shall do my very best for you.
And so, for now, our heroes part ways. Heinrich Schilf, you're in a nice, fancy carriage, leading down the roads that eventually depart the city of Middenheim and go once again past the great Darkwalled Forest. As you look back on the city, what are your thoughts? This is it. You're on your way for your training. You have no idea what that's going to entail. But you're pretty sure by the end of it, you are going to be coming back to Middenheim, leading a few interrogators, Inquisitor Schilf. At least that's what you've been told.
It's all a bit strange. I cannot help but remember how this journey began and the things that we were willing to do for a little bit of status and a little bit of title. And God, we've battered cultists, we've dismembered conspiracies, we've saved dukes, and despite all of that, I still have to go get my chit stamped by some noble in some chapter house. I will not be speaking aloud at how overconfident I am entering this training, but I doubt any of my fellow students have seen half of the action that I have. I am ready to, with steeled resolve, go forward into this, come back, and use those skills for the better.
Indeed, and so your carriage moves ever onwards, south. Kruger Hoffman, you're once again in an office, once again surrounded by guards. You've survived, and you're back to work almost immediately. There is still a lot of cleaning up to do, and, well, several other threats to the city of Middenheim. There's also this strange thing you were asked to do by Siegfrieda and Heinrich and this Gerner fellow. Apparently you need to make sure some warehouse somewhere in one of the districts is unguarded one night so that some low kings can do a little business. You don't have to do that, of course, but it's been stressed to you that not doing that little bit of negotiation, well, will trade one cult for one criminal gang after your head.
Well, I know the Low Kings, and I know that crime is better when it is organized and under control rather than completely chaotic and free. So I don't mind looking away this one time, but I don't think we'll be letting them go quite as free as they have up until now, though. We'll try to put some order back in this city. Feels good to be part of that side of the equation now.
Lofty goals, considering that's still only one of, well, 4 gangs that make up the Low Kings, and the man is apparently the most dangerous of them all. But, well, if you want to make him an enemy, you can. But, well, let's see how that goes for you. For now, though, you'll do this task, and there is one other thing. You have been given permission to do a final interrogation on this lawyer. God knows what he knows, but you did get the sense that your friends didn't really interrogate him at all. Apparently, he had lots of information. It could still be of use.
Yes, well, of course. Anything that we can learn, I'll try to learn.
Then, as you look out the windows of the barracks house, what are you thinking for the future? This is your life now. You're going to do good. But, well, maybe do good from the shadows.
Yes, but I know that we're making a difference. And Middenheim certainly could use all the peace that it can be given. The people here deserve it. So I want to be part of that solution.
Gurner Stark, you return to the guild house. You are congratulated. Your mission done for now. Though, of course, your mission has only just begun. You have a lot of work to do. You are supposed to maintain a guise of being a good wizard of the city, but you also are supposed to investigate things. You still haven't even met this mentor of yours, though you apparently are told that will happen sooner rather than later. How are you feeling? What did you think of the heroes of Middenheim? It was an unusual lot.
Certainly very unusual. Different for me to work with a group like them. They certainly seemed like a band that had stuck together for a long time. I'm surprised almost that they didn't have a more heartfelt goodbye. It was just like, we'll probably see each other again sometime. Maybe that's how it works when you're in the hero business. I'm not too sure myself. I feel like there's certainly a lot to learn from them. What was it he said? This Heinrich fellow, he called the dwarves something specific, and then they liked him, and who was that lady really? That lady Manuel Nacht. They certainly were something. I'll see what comes next for me. Maybe I can finally go back down south and try and find my friend Sebastian again. But something tells me I'll have an assignment in some very specific place, not too far from now.
Indeed. You don't think you're done with the city of Middenheim quite yet, or rather you don't think the city of Middenheim is done with you. Siegfrieda, you return to your clinic, and as the days pass, you think, finally, you can start being a doctor. There is, of course, one funny thing, though. That lovely little book you got. It's very interesting. You think sometimes you can hear it whispering to you. What are you going to do with that lovely book of knowledge?
Books are meant to be read. And most importantly, now that my friends have left, despite Gurner's estimation that there was no sentimentality there, that just seems to be the way we carry ourselves. Certainly when I'm alone, I feel it. I feel that they're gone now. And it's definitely always been my dream to concentrate on nothing but my work and improving my role as a physician, a doctor. But even with the occasional meet-up for dinner or a drink with Kruger for as long as he's around, maybe even bumping into Gurner from time to time, it's not the same. And so even if the clinic goes from strength to strength and the money comes in and I can start paying off my debt, I am prone to distraction. and that book is a very appealing one. Maybe reading it and coming to understand it, if nothing else, it reminds me of the things that my friends and I have done, the people we have fought and beaten. And maybe it will help me understand why they were doing everything they were doing to make our lives miserable. So, when I'm not studying legal ledgers, contract law, of course modern medical and botanical practices, hiring on an apprentice, treating patients, and otherwise feeling exhausted by running a 2-person clinic, and yes, because I will hire on an apprentice, I will take the time to read those scribbled words that should mean absolutely nothing, and let them sear themselves into my brain.
Indeed. After all, knowledge is knowledge. It is the usage that dictates its evil, not its existence, something you firmly believe in. And so, for now, our heroes part ways. But this is not the end of their story, and soon events will conspire to bring them back together. But not yet. Not yet.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this 4th part of the series, we are tackling The Horned Rat. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Aegersonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We'd like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Antxon, Graham Barey, and Doug Thomson for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that Skaven are definitely not real, and even if they were, the Emperor has already dealt with that threat.